contacted me. I'm on Facebook, and so if you want to know what's going on, because we don't advertise, we're way too cheap. So if you want to know about real stories and what we're doing next, we got some good stuff going on. Join me on Facebook, because that's where I post stuff. But Crystal contacted me, and she said, "Okay, I've been following what's been going on. I know you guys are having a good time, and you're telling some stories, and I have a story for you. Call me at 10 o'clock tonight." I love that kind of mystique and mysterious. So I did. I love this story, and she's here tonight, Crystal Beran.
Thank you. So I have this romantic notion of myself as someone who would love to live on a farm. I can see it. I can see the rolling hills with the little cows dotted up on the top of the rolling hills, and sheep and goats and chickens and zucchini and peaches, I don't know, whatever else grows on a farm. I want all this farm stuff. And I can just see myself, being so happy and living on this farm and just, this is great. Except that I don't like farms or dirt or bugs. And even though I am really a very big animal lover, which my family would attest to, I really don't like animals all that much either. So really what I want is to live in a room filled with technology, like computer screens and TVs. I want to live inside Fahrenheit 451 with like the 4 TV screens all over each wall. And I want to live in a holodeck. And in this holodeck, I want a window. And through that window, there's going to be this farm with these rolling hills and cows outside that I can look at. Yeah, really, no. Really, I want the room with the technology, and I want a friend who can live on a farm and send me postcards about life on the farm. That's really what I want. But I do like chickens. And I've had chickens a couple of times, and I've always really enjoyed having chickens. So at the start of my story, I had 13 hens in my closet. And this is because we didn't have a chicken coop yet when we bought our chickens. We did not have a chicken coop. So we had them in the closet. And I felt really bad for my roommate, Lindsay, because the closet wall and her bedroom wall were the same wall. So the chickens would make noise all night, and she took to living in the living room, sleeping out there, and I've got these chickens in the closet. So this happened because my boyfriend at the time had promised me that he would build me a chicken coop as soon as we got these chickens, and I took his word for that. So these chickens live in my closet for weeks. Lindsay's out on the couch, which is not a comfortable couch. The mattress is like that thick. And the chickens are making noise, and they're jumping out of their box, and they're pooping on my clothes. And I'm kind of starting to get on his case about it. He's been out of work for a couple of months, and so he does nothing at all day. He just sits. Sometimes he thinks about taking a shower. Rarely he does take a shower. And I'm working, and I'm kind of supporting us, and I'm going, "When are you going to build me the chicken coop? When are you going to build me the chicken coop?" And he's kind of going, "Oh, I'm thinking about it." So I have some experience with building on stage. I used to be a scenic designer, so I know how to build a house. Like, I don't know how to use the tools. I don't know how to use like a saw or a hammer or a rifle or I don't know whatever men build houses with. I don't know how to do all those things. But I do know how to draw up the plans. So I drew him blueprints for this chicken coop that I wanted. And, none too subtly one morning slid them across the breakfast table to him. And I said, "Here you go. Stop thinking and start building." And I went to work, and a couple days later I did have my chicken coop, which was brilliant because the chickens could move out of the closet. Lindsay could move back into her bedroom, and everybody had a place to stay. So things went on for a while. My boyfriend still is not finding work, and he's taken to being the most gung-ho stoner ever. He wakes up at like 5 in the morning to smoke. He sets an alarm. He wakes up at 5 in the morning to smoke weed. Even my stoner friends then he starts scheming. So he's getting these brilliant ideas, if you're also stoned, such as his father owns some land. We're living in Hawaii at the time, and his father owns some land, and he finds 3 acres of coffee, which is actually really good because you can sell coffee for quite a bit in Hawaii. So he goes out to the coffee and he starts working on it. It's like 40 feet tall at this point. It hasn't been worked in like 30 years. So he starts chopping it down with a machete, and then he gets to a point where he has to use a chainsaw, which he has, but he can't use it because he doesn't have chaps. And I'm not certain about whether or not that's true because I don't know anything about chainsaws. But he had a chainsaw, but not the proper pants to use it, so he couldn't. So he worked really hard at this coffee for 3 whole days, and then he came home and he went, I don't have chaps. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to work, and he's scheming again, and then I come home one day, and he's going to write an epic science fiction novel. He's going to write the next Dune. And I'm a writer, so you'd think that I'd be, flattered, but I'm not. I'm pissed. And I'm going, I can't sell a book, and you're going to write Dune? Don't talk to me about this. And so these schemes keep going, and they keep going, and they keep going. And then one day I go into work, and layoffs are happening. And I knew I was going to get laid off. And I did. I was teaching, and they cut the entire middle school. So I was teaching middle school English, and I lost my job, and I come back, and I'm kind of going, okay, I'm a planner. I need to do things. I'm not like I sit back and smoke a lot of weed, and I'm going to write Dune. I'm not about that. I'm about, I need to go and get a new job. And then, so he keeps scheming, and then one morning, Saturday morning, I'm sleeping in, so till like 8. So I wake up, and unbeknownst to me, he's already been out and about and schemed for the day. I come into the breakfast table, and I sit down, and I'm starting to have some coffee, so I'm starting to wake up. I'm a big caffeine junkie, so if you talk to me before 2-3 cups, I'm not really quite with it yet. And he sits down, and he says, I just got back from breakfast with my dad. Like it's 8, and his dad lives an hour away. So I don't know what they were doing, when or where they met, but schemes were started, and I knew it. And he says, I've solved all of our problems. And I said, oh, like you do. And he says, I'm going to build us a house on my father's land that we will live in together. And I said, oh? And he says, yeah, well, I met with my dad, and we've already drawn up the blueprints. And he slides them across the breakfast table to me. And I look at him for a minute, take a few drinks of coffee, and I go, yeah, I've seen these. And he says, no, we just wrote them today. And I go, no, I've seen these. And he says, no, baby, listen, I just met with my dad for breakfast. This is like a totally new thing. So I take a pen, and I draw a chicken, and I slide it back. And he looks at it for a minute, and I look at him for a minute, and I said, this is the blueprint I gave you, so you could build me a chicken coop. And he goes, well, it's going to be bigger. Yeah, that didn't go over very well. And in fact, it was like this huge fight. We got into this huge fight over it. And we broke up, and he moved out. And it was that extreme. It was just like, and I couldn't deal with this chicken coop house that he was going to build me on his father's land in a place in Hawaii where it gets 220 inches of rain a year. On the wrong side, there's not even a beach there. And so he talked to his dad. His dad explained to him why he didn't want to live in the chicken coop, although I'm sure his dad used words like home. She doesn't want to live in the home you want to build her. But he came back and he says, I understand. I figured this out. I understand why you don't want to live in this, and you don't have to. That's okay. And I go, well, all right. We've been together for a while. Let's try to work this out. So we're back together for a couple months, and then we go over to his parents' land to go out to dinner with them. Or not to go out to dinner, but to have dinner with them. And he wants to show me around the coffee, which he's been poking at, or looking at, or smoking weed with, I don't know. He goes up to the land, and he goes into the coffee, and something something might happen. And so he wants to show me what he's been working on. So he takes me around the land, and I look at the coffee trees, which look like coffee trees that are 40 foot tall, and I go, oh, okay, the outdoors all looks the same to me, I don't know. I'm not a farm person. And he says, I'm surprised. And he takes me to the back corner of the land, which is like a 20-minute walk from the road. You can't drive there. It gets 220 inches of rain a year here, and it's a 20-minute walk to this back corner of the property. And there's a frame for a house. And you know, like, you have that ramp that the chickens use to walk up into the coop? Yeah, it had that. So I walk up the ramp into the house, and it shows me where the nesting loft is. And I can't help thinking that we have just ordered like another 40 chickens, and this is like 3 times bigger than our other chicken coop, and now we have 3 times as many chickens. And couldn't these two things be related somehow? And he goes, we decided to build it. And I walked back down off the chicken ramp and away from the house. And we broke up after that. And in the breakup, we split up the things that we had bought together. So I took the computer that we built, and I let him take the chickens. I thought that was only appropriate, since he had the place to house them.